Disney World parks may have reopened, but that doesn't mean we're all there in person. So if you're still missing out on your favorite Disney park treat, stay tuned because we've got the recipes and tips to help you make them at home. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Get those whisks ready. We're making churros, cinnamon rolls, cheeseburger pods, carrot cake cookies, and a few things that don't start with the letter C, like Dole Whip and the Disneyland famous Monte Cristo. Not a whiz in the kitchen? No worries. We're breaking down the tips and hacks we've learned from making these at home, so it's super easy. And we've created some super adorable printable recipe cards for you. Just head to disneyfoodblog.com/easy recipes, sign up for our totally free newsletter, and we'll send those recipe cards right to your inbox so you can get cooking. Now, onto the eats and our tips to help you make them. First up, Dole Whip. Starting things off with one of the most iconic Disney treats that's one of the easiest to whip up in your kitchen. You're going to find Dole Whip all over Disney World and Disneyland in a bunch of different flavors, but today we're going to make the original pineapple. Now, Disney released an official recipe, but when we checked it out, things seemed a little off. So Dole Whip is dairy-free, and this recipe was calling for ice cream, which, while delicious, isn't going to get you an authentic Dole Whip flavor. So this simple recipe is just 4 ingredients: pineapple juice, bananas, confectioner sugar, and coconut milk. Freeze that pineapple juice, throw it all in a blender, and you've got yourself some Dole Whip. Now, this might have a little more banana-y taste than the original, and of course, this is not what you're going to be getting in the parks. And FYI, we'd suggest adding less liquid to start and maybe more as you need to give you some leeway with the consistency you want. Now, like I said, that's a little banana-y. It's not authentic. So if you want authentic Dole Whip, and you happen to be one of the lucky ones who has a home ice cream maker, you can buy one for less than $100, by the way. Dole actually sells Dole Whip mix, and this is what they use in the parks. All you need to do is add water and toss it in the ice cream maker. Truly, it does not get any easier than that. And this is authentic as you're going to get. All right, next up, those cinnamon rolls. We're going back in time for this treat. It's one you actually can't get in the parks anymore, at least not the way they used to be. And that's all the more reason to learn to make it at home. Yeah, you can totally get cinnamon rolls all over Disney World. There's those jumbo-shaped colossal Mickey cinnamon rolls, and a close copy to this recipe is at Gaston's Tavern in Magic Kingdom. But nothing compares to the original Main Street Bakery cinnamon roll in Magic Kingdom. This one might not be the easiest recipe on our list. It's certainly a little more than just add water, but it's worth it, and we promise it's not as daunting as it seems. If you want to make the dough proofing a bit easier, opt for rapid rise or bread machine yeast. You will only have to let the dough rise once. Did I already lose a lot of you? I'm sorry. Definitely go check out the recipe card, and it'll make a lot more sense. Now, as for that cinnamon filling, we suggest making a paste instead of just sprinkling cinnamon and sugar into the dough. That's how the pros do it. Oh, and for slicing that dough into individual cinnamon rolls, grab some dental floss. Make sure it's not mint flavored, though, and that'll create a much smoother cut than a knife will. The best part about making these at home, you can make as much extra icing as you want. If you want to have these cinnamon rolls for breakfast, we recommend preparing everything the night before, so all you have to do is wake up and toss them in the oven. All right, Lunchbox Tarts. Fancy Pop-Tarts at Woody's Lunchbox in Hollywood Studios are fast becoming one of the must-get treats in the park. But if you're looking to make a quick breakfast or a fun snack at home, we've got a recipe for you. Disney also released an official recipe for this one, which includes how to make the dough. Now, if that knocks this recipe off your easy recipes list, don't worry. You can pick up some store-bought pie crust and end up in the same place. Believe me, I have made these, and I am a horrible cook, and they were delicious. Now, note that we said pie crust, not puff pastry. The pie crust is definitely more authentic to the real Lunchbox Tart, although there are some recipes out there that talk about puff pastry. If you use puff pastry, it's going to be a super puffy pastry. So pie crust is going to get you closer to the actual Lunchbox Tart. Now, the flavors here switch out seasonally, so while we've got the recipe for the chocolate hazelnut version, consider swapping Nutella for strawberry jam if you want something fruity. Oh, and don't rush putting the icing on. Let it cool a bit first, or you're going to end up with a melty mess. Okay, the gray stuff. In the parks, you're going to find the gray stuff at Be Our Guest restaurant in Magic Kingdom and Red Rose Tavern in Disneyland. But making this Oreo cookie mousse at home is super easy. The toughest part of this recipe is the waiting. You're going to need to chill it between a few steps before you get to enjoy. The recipe calls for both vanilla and chocolate pudding, whole milk, Cool Whip, chocolate sandwich cookies, Oreos, and scalloped sugar cookies. Those sugar cookies are the base for you to pipe out your gray stuff, but we won't blame you if you just eat it out of the bowl. The instructions use a food processor to smash up those Oreos, but you can always toss them in a blender, or if you want to go real low tech, toss them in a bag and break them up by hand. We like to use a rolling pin. All right, number 5, Churro Bites. If you find yourself craving Disneyland churros when you're not in the park, we've got great news. They are super easy to make yourself. Kiddos can help out with mixing the ingredients, but this one does involve deep frying and that oil does get hot. After you have your churro batter ready to go, you'll pipe it into the hot oil. Don't worry if you're not a master chef with professional piping bags in your kitchen. Just cut the corner off a Ziploc bag and you're good to go. Though if you want those ridged shapes on your churro, you may want to pick up a metal tip. You can still use it with a Ziploc bag though. We'd also suggest using kitchen scissors to cut your churro bites as you drop them into the oil. Much easier than a knife. For dipping sauce, we may suggest some of that Nutella from your Lunchbox Tarts. Mix it with some warm milk for a more dippable consistency. Carrot cake cookies, you guys, these are my favorites. We've got another throwback. This one is the original carrot cake cookie before it got kind of its little makeover a couple years ago. You can still get the carrot cake cookie today at Trolley Car Cafe in Hollywood Studios, but the cake to icing ratio is a bit different from the first iteration of this snack that was sold at Writer's Stop. You can 100% make your carrot cake from scratch, but this is about easy recipes to make at home, so we'd recommend sticking to a box mix unless you're channeling your inner Betty Crocker. Mix that batter up just like the box says, but instead of baking it in a cake pan, just drop some spoonfuls onto a greased cookie sheet and bake for about 10 minutes. The icing is another simple recipe. Just mix it all together, add some hefty spoonfulls between 2 carrot cake rounds, and that's it. All right, Ohana bread pudding. Bread pudding is a great, easy dessert that anyone can master. If you don't already know, stale bread is going to make the best bread pudding, so pick up that loaf of French bread a day or two before you plan to make this dessert. The sauce here is going to be the tricky part. That's right, y'all. We're going to flambe. After you get your sauce to a rolling boil, add your rum and light it on fire. If you don't have a gas stove, use a long grill lighter to ignite the rum. You can add bananas before or after you flambe, though we'd recommend doing it before so they too get a nice caramelization going on. Now, if the flambe is out of your comfort zone, I do not do well with fire. No worries, just add the rum at the beginning with the rest of the sauce ingredients and let it caramelize and reduce on its own. You can also omit the rum completely if you want, that's totally fine. Type a slice of that bread pudding with vanilla ice cream and serve it up while that sauce is still warm. Now this bread pudding you can get at Polynesian Village Resort in Disney World at Ohana, but just for dinner, and you can also get it at Tambu Lounge after 4 p.m. All right, Jack Jack Cookie Num Nums. This is another one where the Disney recipe is close, but there are a few pretty obvious changes. For one, the Disney recipe makes regular-sized cookies, but the cookies in the park are jumbo. So that part's all up to you. They'll taste the same, but if you want a big cookie, plan to keep them in the oven a bit longer to bake more thoroughly. The second difference, the chocolate. The recipe calls for chocolate chips, but it's the chocolate chunks that make this cookie so good in our opinion. You can definitely find chocolate chunks in your store or online, or you can buy a block of chocolate and chop it up yourself. Sometimes high-maintenance chocolate chip cookies taste even better. Either chocolate choice you make, it's always a good idea to add some extra on top of your shaped cookies before you toss them in the oven. Okay, Monte Cristo. The original Monte Cristo is from Disneyland's Blue Bayou and Cafe Orleans. Well, the original Disney Monte Cristo anyway. Though you'll find a pretty good version at Disney World's Bar Riva at the Riviera Resort right now. Now, there are 2 versions of this recipe. One where you deep fry things and follow the official Disneyland recipe as printed on a vintage recipe card directly from Disney. But if you're like us and you're looking for easy, we got a hack for that. A sandwich press makes this super simple, but you can always make it in a pan as well. Use a spatula to press down on the sandwich while it cooks. The secret is using crescent roll dough instead of bread to get a fluffy, crispy crust without oil. Add some powdered sugar and blackberry preserves for an authentic Disneyland touch. All right, now we're gonna get our drink on, that Avocado Margarita. Can't get much simpler than tossing ingredients in a blender. This Avocado Margarita is a pretty convincing dupe of the delicious margarita you'll find at La Cava del Tequila at Epcot's Mexico Pavilion. The only real trick here is blending everything until it's nice and smooth. Serve it up in a salt-rimmed glass, and if you want to go fully authentic, you can order hibiscus salt online, though we'll forgive you if you go the easy route and just use regular salt. All right, that grilled 3-cheese sandwich. Okay, a grilled cheese sandwich doesn't need too much explanation. It's pretty much cooking 101. But this Disney recipe gets some added kick with awesome spreads that make it so much more than just a grilled cheese. This one you're going to find over at Woody's Lunchbox in Disney's Hollywood Studios as well. And this is another recipe that calls for a food processor, but if you don't have one, just use a regular blender to combine everything together for your cream cheese spread. You can cook this one in a skillet or sandwich press if you have one, and feel free to swap the type of cheese based on your personal preference. Serve it up with some tomato soup, and you are all set. All right, next up, the cheeseburger pods. We have hacked our way through another DFB favorite, the cheeseburger pods from Satuli Canteen in Animal Kingdom's Pandora. These are basically McDonald's hamburgers served up in a bao bun. You're going to find them on the kids' menu in Pandora, but adults love this one too, and they're pretty easy to make. You're going to gather up some standard hamburger staples, ground beef, relish, mustard, ketchup, and cheese, but your bun is going to be a little bit different. We used canned biscuits for our buns, and they turned out great. Make sure to get plain, not flaky or Grands biscuits. And you'll need a steamer basket or steamer insert for a stock pot, but this one's as simple as cooking the filling, loading it up into a biscuit, and steaming for 15 minutes. Definitely a lot more fun way to eat your cheeseburger. All right, guys, if you want to try some of these recipes, remember to head on over to disneyfoodblog.com/easyrecipes. You're going to sign up for our totally free newsletter, and we're going to send the super cute recipe cards right to your inbox so you can get going ASAP. Thanks for listening, you guys. Thanks for watching. We're so glad to bring the parks into your home all the time here on DFB Guide. If you're not subscribed to the channel, we'd love to have you subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. That makes sure that you know every time we put up a new video. This is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.